interesting is that inventory is still really low. Every agent I talk to, and actually other lenders, if I have conversations with them about, if I have a seller and the buyers, it's amazing. They're telling me how low the inventory is. So they're saying that, obviously I have all these people that are sitting there waiting around like, well, when it's springtime, I'm gonna be sitting out there waiting. Well, take the blinders off and look behind you, because everyone else is gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, it really looks like we're going to be up to multiple offer situations again.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody here tried to buy a house in the past couple of years. Yeah. There are a lot of challenges when everybody wants the same house, right? Kind of a process that we designed with my team to really help people be more competitive, get them under contract, and beat out the other offers, because it's not just about money. It's about making sure that you get to the finish line.
To echo that too, so yes, and what I like about you is that when I write an offer with a client, I'm gonna have you call that listing agent and tell them about the client and how, they've got money in the bank, or they're ready to buy, or they've already gone through the process. The other thing is that with you, I can send my buyer to you first, because first of all, you should never go shopping unless you know what you're shopping for and how much you can afford. That's just dangerous on every level. To get them through, like, okay, what does it look like for a monthly mortgage? Like, people will say, oh, well, I think I can afford a $300,000 house. I'm like, but what is the rate every month that you're gonna pay? Like, that's what's really most important. Like, you know how much your Netflix costs, and you know what your car payment is. What is your mortgage payment? So to that same effect, when they've been through the process with you, the other thing that you'll do is you can underwrite them ahead of time. So when they're shopping, all we gotta do is find a house. That's it. We just have to find the house, and of course plug in taxes and that kind of stuff. But other than that, they're way ahead of the game plan of other people. And I've definitely won because I've had you as my mortgage lender. As Tina Turner says, you're the best. You're simply the best. You're better than all the rest. I love my sellers, I do. I go to your house, I tell you, this is a great time for you to sell. And then they go, but the market rates for me to buy a house are higher than the house interest rate that I have now, because I refined it at 0.8. Okay, maybe that's extreme, but a lot of them are sitting in the 3s and 4s. And I said, well, yes, but here's the thing, you're dating the rate. You're gonna marry the house. So if you sell your house and you get into the other home that you want to have, that rate in the 30 years that you live in that house will change. The problem I'm having is they don't want to move. So they don't want to move. And I go in there and I talk to them, like, let's have a conversation about really, why do you need to move? Is it for a job? Are you downsizing? Have you just spent so much time at your dining room table during COVID that you can no longer live in your 1-bedroom house and you're losing your mind? Like, what are the reasons, right? So oftentimes though, it does come down to the fact that they're gonna need something else. So say we decide to say, oh, we're gonna improve their house. I need electricians, I need plumbers, I need waterproofers, I need new countertops, I need roof to repair. I get so many requests for those things every week. And that's what I'm looking for, is if the sellers could just beef up what they have now, then get them to the market, then my buyers would have a way to compete. There's more choices.
I've got a lot of these people that have owned their homes over, through the COVID period, been a lot of appreciation. They have a lot of equity in their house. And they say, they kind of get tethered to the house because they have all that equity and they have a really low interest rate, and they want to do work to the house. They want to do updates or remodeling.
Like plumbers.
Yeah, so a lot of you tradespeople in here, like that's what our clients are looking for. Yes. Sometimes when they decide to sell, they want to do some stuff before they sell it. Sometimes when they buy, they want to do some stuff after they move in. And sometimes they say, I'm going to stay put and I need somebody to do some stuff around my house. Right. What are the things in your house that really improve the value the most?
Clean it. Kitchens, bathrooms, but really, the number one pet peeves I think that most of my clients have is that they go in and they turn on the faucet at the kitchen sink and it doesn't work. Or they go and flick on a light switch and it's like, and it just dies. So really just maintaining and taking care of. If you drive up, they're going to be standing at that front door for at least 60 seconds while I fumble with the super box of the combination. So they're looking at the porch, they're looking at the paint, they're looking at the windows, they're looking at the door lock, they're looking at the Ring camera and hopefully not smiling and picking their teeth in front of it. I've had people do that. They're looking at all the things that you don't look at, they're looking at it.
So I'm biased, but I think Guild has the best first-time home buyer product on the planet. Well, maybe in the U.S. I haven't been.
Okay, let's not get crazy.
Okay, sorry. It's called the 321 Home Plus, and we actually partnered with Home Depot. So when somebody qualifies for this, it's a conventional loan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So first-time home buyers, it's as little as 3% down to buy their first house. And what happens is when they buy a house using that loan, at closing, I show up with a gift card to the Home Depot for $2,000. And so when you're buying your first house, and all you people in the trades know, people buy their first house, they spend their money on the house, and then they realize, oh, I've got all this stuff I want to do, and they
don't have a lawnmower.
they don't have a lawnmower, they don't have the money to do it. So we figured it's a really good thing to offer to them. Maybe they don't necessarily realize that they need it until they go in and they buy the house and they move in. They're like,
Right.
I'm so glad I had that. So on top of that, we're actually going to give them anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500 towards their down payment and closing costs. So again, we're really focusing on helping the people get into their first house.
Buy a house. It doesn't have to be your forever home. You do not need a 4-bedroom, 3-bath necessarily as your first home. Maybe you do. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you do. Yet it really is. You get in and you make that start. That first house, then 3, 5, 7 years later, will then become the equity build. You're literally like, you're putting in, as Megan would do, like a financial planning for the future with that house, and you get to enjoy it. Now, when you leave, you might only own the doorknob, but it doesn't matter, right? I'll say that in 10 years, single women, all the single ladies, if you like it, then you should put an offer on it. If you like it, but yeah, exactly. But 20% of people that buy first-time home buyers are single women. Okay? They do not have a plumber, an electrician. They don't know what a water heater is. Some of them do, some of them don't. I have to go down there and show them what it is, right? Now you change out this filter, yeah. But it's important that you really understand not only your sellers and your buyers, but to have that program, it gets people, it's their footing in underneath so they can really have something to get in the door. And the expectations, I will go quickly, but expectations, everyone will tell me, I don't have a lot that I need. That's my favorite first line. You will always want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and ranch in a good school district with a 1 to 2-car garage, a level yard, and a fenced one. I know. You tell me it every single time. You don't necessarily, and I want it to be updated, but it doesn't have to be perfectly updated. But if it could have brand new stainless steel appliances and all be white and black and gray, and then beautifully fitted, and I love hardwood floors, but if it doesn't have to be hardwood floors, it could be electric flake vinyl flooring that was just done like last week. Yes, yeah. You don't always get that, but by putting in your equity, by getting the new faucet on your own, getting the new lights on your own, by getting the flooring done on your own, you build equity later, and you don't pay for it up front. Drop the mic.
What are things that people should be doing like a few years before they are thinking about buying a home? Things they can prepare for?
Yep.
That's a great question, Megan. I promise I did not tell her to ask that, but so, being proactive is really the best approach you can take when you want to be a home buyer. And the reason I say this is because a lot of times I'll have a client that says, I want to buy a house, and they call Jennifer first, and they're like, show me some houses I really want to buy.
Shopping is fun.
Shopping is fun. Mortgages are not fun. But
No.
maybe for me, but I'm weird. So when it comes down to it, you need to understand what your situation is. Not just what the house looks like that you want, but what's that going to cost as far as like what's your monthly payment goals? How much do you have saved up that you can put into the house to buy it?
Right, and you work with your financial planner to make sure you
Yeah,
can afford that.
definitely talk to your financial planner. If you don't have one, we have a great one here for you. But what it comes down to is like this is a big decision, and you should move into it with the knowledge that you can gain from the experts around you. And oftentimes I find people will come and say, I want to buy my first house. And I say, okay, what's the price range you're looking in? And they'll give me a price range. This is my favorite exercise. And then I say, okay, what's an ideal mortgage payment look like for you? And what's like the top end that you're comfortable with? And oftentimes those numbers don't align.
Right.
And that's okay, but that's why we go through that process to make sure that we can really put them in a situation that they're comfortable with. I'm not going to throw a pre-approval for $500,000 at somebody that doesn't need a $500,000 house or isn't comfortable with a payment that comes with a $500,000 house. Sometimes it takes working on your credit, saving up for a down payment. And all these things are things that you should know before you step foot in your first house.
I'm gonna give them all the knowledge that I have. So I set up all my buyers and my sellers and my investors on what I call a neighborhood portal. So you're seeing everything I'm seeing so that you know what the market looks like. What is it? Like, because the value of a house, like you could go see 6 houses in one area of town, but you don't know the value of that house until you've kind of seen that, until you've seen that. And photos online is like online dating. They lie. Lie. And then when they go in and you're like, the living room looked huge. They used a fisheye lens. That's why, because that is clearly a 5x8 living room. There's no way, right? That's the size of your bathroom, right? Sellers want to go out there because they want to get the highest price for their house. But if they think they can't get another house for the cheapest price, which I love that's called the unicorn. Yeah. Then they don't sometimes move. So it really depends, though, Charlie, to that point that it may be, and it's only on the ones that are perfectly done. The ones that look like picture perfect HGTV stuff, they get the most amount of bids. So I like to take my clients to other ones that aren't perfect because that's the one that's going to get you a great deal. Like I'm with someone else here in BNI. I help their children find something, and we found something that's been on the market for a long time, and they got it for way under asking price. And it's a great house, and all they have to do is do a couple things to personalize and make it look great. They're going to get the equity, not necessarily the seller. So it depends on areas and what the house looks like.
Seen a lot of volatility in the real estate market. When you see something in the news, the headlines, a lot of them are inflammatory, but when they communicate to you like, hey, there's multiple offers on every house, it's a dogfight out there, like you're fighting people in the streets just to be able to buy a house, that could have already changed by the time you read that headline. And that's how fast things, we saw a lot of diminished demand later on in last year because the rates went up faster than they've ever gone up before. January 1st, like they came out in droves, and rightfully so, like that's the time to buy in this particular scenario, in my opinion.
Winter.
And right, we know that we don't have a lot of inventory. We're not going to have a lot of inventory for years. Housing starts are still really low. They've never gotten back.
New construction's really low, but that's supply, pipelines, skilled workers, construction costs, land costs have gone up, taxes went up for the builders. But it'll change.
Right, but it takes time, and ultimately, if the idea is like you want to buy and you have reasons that make sense to you to buy, don't wait until rates come down. If you want to buy now and you can afford it and you're comfortable with it, buy now. If rates go up after you buy, you're protected. Your payment doesn't go up because the rates go up because you're in a fixed rate mortgage. If rates go down, you take that opportunity to refinance and lower your payment. But at least you're in the house.
You're a veteran. First of all, thank you for your service. VA loans are amazing. Do it. It's 100%. And VA loans are assumable, meaning when you go to sell your house, if your rate is amazing, someone else can buy your house and assume that rate.